Whoop, whoop, whoop. What's going on, y'all? It's Afiya Damali. Today I'm here and I am going to be recording two animated horror stories. Today we're going to be watching the ones by MJV Animations. And yeah, so y'all are here with me. Let's go ahead and just get straight into this because waste time for what? Waste time for what? Renata. Come on.
I had gotten home from work about an hour ago and was hunkered down in...
Pause. Man, y'all. Let's get back into it, guys. I don't know why I had all this going on in the first place. Come on.
for the night, sitting on my bed and watching TV. There was a storm outside. We don't usually get too many big thunderstorms around here, so nights like these always had me a bit nervous.
Right.
A little bit into the storm, I heard something below me, like downstairs in one of the rooms. I thought it was just the house creaking, but feeling uneasy, I got up and checked anyway. There was nothing, so I filled up my water bottle and went back up to my room. I felt like I was only upstairs.
Why his chest so big? He was really puffing his shit up, wasn't he?
For another few minutes before I heard something again. It was a sound I was actually very familiar with and instantly recognized as one of my lamps in the living room falling over. I know it's weird how specific that is and how I'd know that, but the lamp was very unstable and would often fall if bumped into, and the spot I had it in, I'd bump into it pretty often. However, even though it was wobbly, it had never fallen over on its own before. I got back up.
People in these situations do not be thinking fast on their feet. Like, there is no possible way you're thinking fast on your feet in a situation like this. If you sitting here wondering, oh, well, when I'll do it, it wobble, but it don't fall unless I walk into it, and then, nigga, you should see that it fell. You should see it fell, and knowing that it don't usually do that, just act and get on, or like
assume that that's what it was, because there was nothing else to tell me otherwise. Even then, in my gut, I knew that that wasn't the case. I checked around the bottom floor for anything else, but eventually went back up to my room. I turned down the volume. I was up there for a while longer, say 45 minutes, when I felt like the rain got louder all of a sudden. Maybe I didn't notice it before, but it sounded different, almost like it was in the walls, and tracked the sound down.
You know what would save people in a lot of these situations is being prepared with your blicky.
The hallway. At the end, near the kitchen, there was an awkward door to a storage closet that I knew had a window in it. I could hear the sound of rain pouring down from behind the closet door. I felt the anxiety build up in me as I opened it and saw the window wide open. Water was puddling on the boxes below the window, and rain was slapping against the windowsill. It had been at least 6 months since I'd last been in the storage closet, but I knew for sure I would have never touched that window.
So you had somebody living in your house for 6 months?
Let alone left it open.
This don't have to be like no serial killer or nothing. This could be like a squatter. Given in this situation, you probably wouldn't be trying to figure out who's squatting in your house, or like if it's a squatter, you probably just think it's a burglar.
I shut it to block out the sound of the rain, then faced the rest of my house, terrified and literally shaking. I had made the mistake of leaving my phone upstairs on my bed, so I could either run up and grab it, or just run out of my house. I was honestly so scared, I couldn't think straight. I carefully and quietly got my car keys from the kitchen, then started to slowly walk down the hallway toward the front door, hoping if someone was in here, they wouldn't hear me. I got about halfway there.
This is tense. I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably the scariest person to do this shit.
Before a sudden burst of footsteps sprinted down the upstairs hallway, right above me. but they were going toward the stairs, and in a panic, I ran right to the front door. I could hear them getting close to the bottom as I ran out into the rain. I got into my car, backed out, and drove away without even looking back. I was able to dial 911 through my car. The officers found nothing but an empty house when they got there.
Hey man, say man, if they gonna be doing this, they gotta be serious. Cause why they had this man coming in looking like some Russian militia? Nigga has a dazed and confused look on his face. He don't know what's going on. Oh my
The
god.
officers found nothing but an empty house when they got there. Looking further into it, the
Bruh.
wall in the that had the window ran along the end table that had the lamp on it. So likely the vibrations from trying to bust open the old window knocked over the lamp. Whoever had broken in didn't leave any clues on what they broke in for. It seemed like they had found somewhere upstairs to hide and were probably waiting for me to go to sleep before doing whatever they were going to do. Whether that was to rob me or what, I don't know. It's still really disturbing knowing there was someone walking around my home right outside my bedroom door that night while I was just sitting in my room watching TV. Even now, I randomly get unsettled when just hanging around my home, feeling like I'm not alone.
Say, baby, won't you go ahead and get your ass the up out of here?
It was a pretty typical night in the middle of March. Usually I did afternoon shifts, but every once in a while I'd cover for someone's overnight shift. I had gotten a call in the morning to come in from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., all of which would count as overtime, so I quickly agreed. I got
Get your
in
money,
and
honey.
took over for the manager, then sat behind the front counter. It was pouring outside, and supposedly a big storm was gonna roll in later. Seemed to keep most people at home because the gas station was dead. After sitting inside for an hour, I threw on my raincoat and ran outside to prepare the
His
station for the
neck! Why are they creating these characters to be built like, oh, what the f? Like, look at his neck! You can't make this up. You can't.
There were a bunch of loose things hanging around the pumps that needed to be brought inside.
Nigga has two
I started
fingers and
picking
a thumb.
them up and running back and forth to drop them
Yeah,
off.
fire the
And
animator.
as I was
I'm sorry to who was this? MJV? MJV. I'm sorry, cause I listen, cause I get it, okay? I don't mean to disrespect your craft or like or like what you like to do, but all I'm saying is you got neck like a
gas station. He was on the side of the street, pacing around and getting drenched by the rain. It was very unusual, though it looked like he was probably just waiting for a ride.
okay.
I finished up and headed inside. 2 hours later, thunder started rumbling in the distance, and soon after, heavy winds and even harsher rain came swooping in. I knew it would be bad, but this was insane. The wind smacking against the sides of the building was actually making the whole room shake. And at one point, I even thought the front doors were gonna snap off the hinges because they swung open so fast. I hurried over and secured the bolt lock to keep them in place, then moved toward the back of the building and into the storage room, away from all the windows, and I just waited. I want to say it was maybe 30 minutes after the storm has started. I was still in the back of the building when, through all the harsh noises, I heard a muffled sound. It wasn't until I heard it floor. There was someone outside looking in at me
like,
and hitting the doors repeatedly.
Nah,
I hurried over and unlocked it, thinking he was in trouble and needed help. He quickly ran inside, and the man was soaking wet and had pools of water draining from his jacket.
swear, I don't get it. I don't get it. I know maybe y'all get it. Like, I'm trying to, somebody help me understand though, because, huh?
It was the same man I'd seen outside earlier. Had he been out there the whole time? It had been over 2 hours since I'd seen him.
You should, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but what you shoulda did, you shoulda, baby, get the freak on!
After watching him for a minute, I got really uncomfortable and started to walk to the front desk to call the police. As I picked up the phone though, his eyes snapped at me and he stopped walking. It was then, as we looked at each other, that I noticed his hands were cut. Like right on the knuckles, they were bloody and bruised. I caught myself looking for too long, and by the time I looked back up at the man's eyes, I could tell he was pissed. "Don't," he said, clearly talking about me using the phone. I wasn't trying to test him, so I lowered the phone.
Yeah, and I bet you wish you had used the phone to call the po-po-po when you had the chance before you let a raggedy stray inside your store. But now look at you. Yeah. I don't trust no man without no blicky.
Seconds where he just stared at me, like he was thinking about whether or not to do something. But then he turned and continued to pace the floor. The storm picked up outside, chaotically shaking the building and adding to the horror of whatever was happening. I tried to think out all my options as this maniac walked around just...
What be crazy about all these stories is that the people still end up getting away, so like what's the point in like getting mad
for me.
For real. Like
I could try running,
but
I'd have to get the door unlocked and out.
I'd still be mad because a scary girl like me would never, ever put myself in a position like this. Like, I just couldn't. I couldn't.
Him in the storm.
It's one thing if somebody break into your crib and you got a squatter because you have 30 different rooms in your house. Or, like, a basement with a window that got the side door. And I get that. But you seen this man standing outside for 2 hours. It's raining. You let him in. But he's been outside for 2 hours.
Probably the most risky option, which was to do nothing and just wait. I stood there and watched him for, 20 minutes at least. At any point, he could have just snapped and ended me, but he didn't. After those 20 minutes, he gave me one last look, then walked over to the door, slid the bolt lock over, and walked out into the storm. I immediately called the police. I'm not sure if it was just because of the storm, or because they didn't think it was urgent enough, but it took over
This nigga is frazzled. Oh my goodness, I'm crying.
Hour for a cop to show up. By then, whoever the hell that man was gone. They never found him. When the storm finally passed on the following day, there was a report filed for a missing woman. She never returned home from work that night after leaving the office at 11 p.m. Maybe I'm just connecting completely different things, but the man had clear signs of having attacked someone with blood and bruises on his knuckles, and the timeline seems to add up. Again, it's all just theories, but whatever I was in the middle of that night, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Certain things you just can't intervene in.
I worked for security, so my hours were kind of all over the place. I'd gotten out at 1 a.m. this day. There was a pretty heavy storm going on. A lot of the road water building up on the sides, and almost nobody else was driving. The route I usually take is off the main roads, on smaller, less crowded streets, but it looked like it might be several feet deep, which I was not comfortable driving through. I knew this meant I'd have to drive all the way back, so I was pretty frustrated. I put my car in reverse and started to back up to do a 3-point turn when my car started frantically beeping. I hit the brakes, but didn't even know why it was beeping until I looked over my shoulder and out the back window. There was a car right behind me, like only 2 feet away from my bumper.
He looked like he driving that car from what's that one thing called?
Now we're here at the drive-thru.
So what I did was,
Did I mention the
More unsettling. Eventually, I
7 o'clock in the evening, watching something stupid on TV. Head ass.
honked a few times. The longer I sat there, though, the more I felt like something was seriously wrong about this. Then their door opened. A man got out. He wore black clothing and had a hood covering most of his face. He came up to my window and knocked on it a few times. I didn't open it. The man didn't say anything. He just continued to knock on the window faster, being less careful about the flood and just trying to turn my car around as quick as possible. There was a moment where my car lost traction for a whole 3 or 4 seconds, and I thought I had gone too far. But by some miracle, it came back to me. I managed to get around them and drive away. Obviously, once I was back on the main road, I called the police. They drove down to the scene later that night, and oddly, the car was still there, right by the flood, but none of the men were there. They were able to trace the car's owner down to some random dealership hundreds of miles away that it had apparently been stolen from months ago.
Stolen car.
I don't really know what happened on that road, or how close I was to something horrible happening.
Are we gonna talk about the fact that they put his eyebrows in? The eyebrows are the mustache. All right.
Probably will never know.
They didn't even try to like make it look like hair. Like they just copy and pasted his eyebrows and made it his mustache.
Alaska, so I don't see them very often. But last fall, I made the road trip up there in my RV just to visit them for the season. A bunch of other family members flew in as well. As we got into October though, it started getting colder and the snow was supposed to be coming in, so I had to leave before the roads got too bad. The road that goes from Alaska and through Canada is famous for being extremely remote. There's no service along most of it, and it just goes through hills, valleys, forests, and mountains. Most people making the drive either sleep at the few truck rest stops or at public camping spots along the road. On my second day, I drove until 8 p.m. before finding a place to pull off for the night.
Yeah.
It was a dirt road with a small spot between the trees to park and sleep at. I think a lot of people might find it unnerving to sleep in the middle of nowhere like this, but I did it pretty often.
Why? Why?
In my RV, so I was used to it.
Why?
I made myself something small to eat, then got in bed and turned on a movie to watch. It wasn't very long after I'd arrived, though, that I heard footsteps nearby. I sat up and opened one of the blinds, but I didn't have any exterior lights on, so my view was of nothing but the pitch-black woods next to me. I just need some water, please, and then I'll be on my way. It was a man's voice, deep,
No, baby.
like they were older. My eyes looked at the
Go
clock.
find the whale.
It was 2 a.m. Several, like at least 4 or 5. The man knocked again, almost banging on the door, as if he was losing his patience. I quietly backed up and grabbed the keys, then took a deep breath before running to the front and quickly turning the RV on. As soon as I did, the headlights lit up multiple men in front of me, all looking mid-30s and 40s with scruffy beards and raggy winter clothes. They started yelling as I drove past them and circled back to the main road. I drove until I reached a gas station.
Boy, let me tell you where his luck resided, because they could have each one of his tires, and he wasn't going nowhere.
And got police involved. It was far too late for anything to be done. What those men were trying to do is anyone's best guess. This fall, I didn't make the trip up there, and I'm starting to doubt I ever will again.
Say, baby, baby, won't you just go ahead and learn from your mistakes and just try. Try. Okay, I'm sorry. That's too much. But yeah, y'all, that wraps up today's reaction. But yeah, y'all, thank y'all so much for joining me today on this here channel. And I will see y'all when I see y'all. Squabble up.